Welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, a podcast where we teach speakers how to land paid speaking engagements and corporate contracts. Each week, we deliver high-quality content that teaches you how to level up your speaking business. Be sure to join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group after having your mind blown by this information-filled episode. Now, here's your host, Ashley Kirkwood, lawyer and professional speaker. This is the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
So I would recommend, there's really two things. I think you probably need like a VIP day and just map out what your process is and what your framework is, your signature framework. That's something that we do in the VIP day setting. I think you have to have a signature framework that you walk people through, but also you've already done this for a few companies. So you could just ask them what were their tangible takeaways and use some of their language in the pitching process. But developing out that framework, your signature method for walking corporations through wellness would be something that we could develop out together. Okay, awesome. So you talked about, getting more engagements and all of that. So here's the thing. You don't have to wait for them to come to you. You should be actively pitching them. But I say that because a lot of people, I think that sometimes people think that speaking is kind of a sexy way to make money. And it is. It's fun. But if you want to get paid to speak, there is typically a revenue goal behind it. So for everyone listening, if speaking is something that you want as a business decision, like you want to use speaking to make additional revenue, that is different than having a burden for a particular group of people. So I heard you say like women out of breakups and all of that. And I immediately thought like, okay, are they going to pay for that? Because the thing is, they'll pay for a group coaching program, those women, to get through whatever they're going through. And I mean, because I wouldn't be the ideal audience, because I'm gonna tell you, girl, I was cheated on too, but I just moved on and met my husband, and I stopped dating men with bad character. In my case, I was dating liars. That was a problem. So I had to get rid of that. I had to figure out what within me, was attracting these lying men. And I only say that because I remember going through that period, and I don't know if I would have, gotten into a program to help with that, or if I would have listened to a speech to help with that, or what that would have looked like. But I also got married very, 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 very young. So when I dated liars, it was in college, and college is where a lot of the worst relationships I ever had, the most like problematic, took place. And I imagine because that's the period that most people I knew were not dating the best people in college. And so if you are going to do something about relationships, I would pivot it, if you want to make money from it, to talk about healthy dating on college campuses and what that looks like. And then I would pitch it to colleges, because that is going to be relevant and relatable, and you'll still be able to help women. But if your goal is to help, adult women through any trauma that they're dealing with in terms of relationships, I wouldn't be the ideal audience for that. So I won't speak on how that'll work, because I literally got married at 22 and my husband's fabulous. He's very good. But I think that for college, thinking back to like where the market is with money, it's going to be colleges for that type of thing. If you want to talk about relationship building platonically, then you can go to corporate with something like that. So in my experience, colleges spend a lot of money during their orientation season on bringing in sex experts, dating experts, life coaches, and the like, to actually help people with healthy dating experiences. So you definitely want to think through whether that can be a market for you, because I think it can, if you're going to go that route. But for everyone listening to this, if you want speaking to be something you make money from, 1, you need a revenue goal behind it. 2, you need to figure out how you're going to invest in it so you don't waste time. And 3, you need to think through how much time and money you're going to leave on the table and waste by not hiring appropriate coaching and advice to get you to where you need to go. But that whole piece of like who you want to help may be very different than who has the budget to pay you. And one of our core values actually in Speak Your Way to Cash, if you apply to the private training and you end up watching it, you're going to hear me talk about this. One of our core values is like, we value big checks over cute stages, and we value people over profits. But just because you want to help an audience doesn't mean they can pay you for it. So I'm big on helping clients reposition their expertise to a market that will actually pay them for it. That market may be outside of who you actually want to help though. So, but yeah, girl, them colleges, they got people, and they pay for it. And orientation season is your season. So right now, I would start figuring out who are there's an organization, National Orientation Directors Association, NODA. I would link up with them and then see how you can help them out. Yeah, absolutely. I actually have training on this. It's a virtual speaking webinar training. I was running ads to it, but I don't think you can find it now. If you text me, I'll send it to you. But it's a very short training that you can watch on it. It's not a huge investment, but it's something that'll get you started to think in the right direction. One of the frameworks I talk about in there is the FAME framework. What do friends and family say about you? Who's the audience that can pay you? That's the A. How can you monetize it? What are all the ways that you can monetize that level of expertise? And then E, what is your educational background or what is your experience? And then you want to take all of that data and then you want to transform it into a signature speech. What is the one thing that all of your trainings are based upon? So for me, friends and family say I'm confident. They're like, yeah, you're confident. But I'm confident. And then I have a backstory to back that up. So I've seen a lot of people say there was a woman I met a long time ago, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I met her and she had a very demure personality. And she was talking at the event about how she lacked confidence. She didn't have confidence in this, didn't have confidence in that, didn't have confidence in this, didn't have confidence in that. And I was like, oh, okay, dope. Well, I always recommend for confidence, either coaching or therapy, depending on the severity. But I went up to her after the event and I was like, well, what do you speak on? She said confidence. Y'all, oh Lord is right. So I say that to say sometimes people like to speak on topics that they wish they were exceptional at, but they're actually not. Whereas I think that you should speak on whatever topic you are actually exceptional at. It's the thing that exudes from you regardless of what you're doing. And for a lot of people, I think that they feel like there's certain topics they have to choose because they're popular in the marketplace. And that's not true, which is why the E in the FAME is experience or education. So don't think because you don't have an educational background in something, you can't talk about it. Some people are introverts, but they've built multi-million-dollar businesses. Other people were always cast aside. They were always picked on growing up, but they were resilient throughout all of it. And they still grew to be exceptional at whatever they were. Other people are introverted, but they lead people very well. They can develop consensus. Other people may lack confidence, but they are exceptional at friendships. They just know how to build long-time relationships. They got friends from 35 years ago. Other people are just the type of people where every single person who comes in contact with them feels better upon leaving. They know how to be empathetic on a higher level. All of those skill sets are 100% acceptable and amazing to speak on. But you have to be self-aware because that's an extreme example. But in that example, it just makes me think that I don't know why she thought that was a good topic to speak on. And of course, it wasn't working out. She wasn't getting booked, but it was because if you speak on confidence, you got to show up. If you speak on leadership, you have to have a story backing why you're a leader. It doesn't mean you have to lead a team of 500,000, but at some point, your story has to weave in leadership. And then check this out. Maybe you have never led a team, but you're still good at leadership because you're all about personal leadership, personal development. You've led yourself through a variety of trials. You're the type of person where if something goes wrong in your life, you look at every loss as an opportunity, regardless of what it is. One of the mindset shifts I've made was nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. And it just made me look at life differently. There's always a reason to be grateful. Other people have gratitude. You know what I mean? And so if that's the case, then they're really good at gratitude. So you want to make sure that whatever your thing is, it should be something that friends and family are saying about you or your educational background supports or your experience supports. But after you find out your topic, that signature speech, that's going to be the thing that sells. So that's a really good question. Here's the thing. You're going to be learning for months and years down the road. I'm just gonna start with that, okay? Because I think that some people think that it's all right, what's this one thing that I can do? And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is not any one thing. And I do VIP days still. We're doing way less in 2021, and frankly, they're going up to $25,000. It's a lot of work to do them. Not only that, you're spending so much time with one person, and you're really changing their life. What I will say though is you have to determine what is the cost you're willing to pay for the results that you want. And I say cost, but I mean time cost and monetary cost. For instance, in the Speak Your Way to Cash Academy, it's a 12-month program. They're going to get results way before 12 months. We have a therapist, shout out to the therapist, who's already pitched. She did a VIP day with me, pitched a $70,000 contract. They've already accepted a certain portion of that. They're going to accept more. But the fact that she already pitched this before the academy even starts means she's going to make a ton of money this year. She's already told me, she's like, I'm going to be on I do an award ceremony at the end of the year. She's like, I'm going to be on that stage. And I'm like, you are, because you've already pitched $70,000 in contracts. We haven't even started yet. And so, so like you got to figure out what's that time investment. And the other thing that you need to think about, and this is how I always tell people to think about it, because we work in that program with people who are trying to get those 5- and 6-figure corporate contracts. Let's say you pitch the 5-figure contract, you pitch a $75,000 contract and you don't get it for 3 months. But every day for 3 months, you sent out 10 emails. You followed up every single day, including weekends, and you didn't get it until 3 months in. Is it worth it? Like, would you be happy with that? It's a $75,000 contract. You can outsource all of it for like $15,000 and then you net everything else. Would that be worth it to you? So then the issue isn't the time. The issue is belief. What do you believe about your ability to get things done? So that's going to be one. And then two, we have 2 therapists in the program. And it's one, if you all are interested in this program, I haven't said this in a while. So let me just say, you can just text apply to 312-847-4590. It's a link in my bio. So if you click my picture, it's the number in my bio. But what I want to say is that you're going to have to invest the time. And each time you learn something new, you're going to learn something else. And then you're going to learn something else. So like, I know how to pitch. I know how to land corporate clients. And now it's getting fun. Like now when I closed the contract and it was like $13,000 or $14,000, it was $13,000 for 40 minutes. I was like, now this is getting fun. You know what I mean? So you have that. And that's just a piece of the project, but it does take it takes time, and it's more time than I think people realize. And for most people who are up here, they haven't done anything for 90 days straight every single day in the right direction. A lot of us spend 2 to 5 hours on social media per day, if you look at that little phone app thing, but haven't made $200 to $500 per day from social media. So that doesn't really make sense as a time investment. In the corporate space, you're not going to have to spend a lot of time. One, you want to consistently invite people to work with you. That is the biggest thing that you can do in order to grow your business. Consistently invite people to work with you. The way that you invite them matters, what you invite them to matters, and the package that you present to them matters. The reason there's not really one thing is because if you invite them and the invite is right, but then you move forward and then the actual presentation you give them in your sales call isn't good, you don't ask the right question, then it falls flat. If the sales call is great, but then you send them that proposal and the proposal's janky and they forward it to their boss and he realizes this is janky, then it falls flat. It's almost like Facebook ads. People in the online marketing space understand this. So I can't just run a good Facebook ad and the landing page sucks. I can't put $5 a day in a Facebook ad and want my return on investment to be $500,000 a month. A lot of people want to invest $200 and then they want a 7,000 time return of investment on that. The people who email our customer service department the most are the people who buy like our $19 webinar. They buy the $19 thing and they're like, oh, well, I couldn't get in, or I could, like I say that to say we offer programs for like, I don't know, $15,000 a month. Those clients don't email us as much as people who we've sold something for $19 to. That also means if you're going to sell services that are at a lower cost, you have to have a higher volume and you need customer service to sell them well. What I would recommend to you is that you figure out who is the person that can lead you through, even if you invest a year. Like you invest a year, you learn what you need to learn, and then you go on and grow. But what I found is I invested last year in my business for the entire year, spent probably $70,000 on coaching, the most I've spent on like individual coaches. And then this year I turned around and did it again because I was like, man, now I got more money, but I also have more questions. And so you're always going to be learning. So I really want to challenge you on that. But you want to consistently invite people to work with you. If you don't take anything else from this, you need to be consistently inviting people to work with you at a price point that serves you. I looked up, because I know therapists, you said therapists are here to help. And I know therapists, they love helping people. My therapist helps me. Help means to make it easier for someone to do something by offering one services or resources. Literally, you aren't helping people if you are not consistently offering your services or resources to them. And those services and those resources actually help them. So don't think that because you're a therapist and because you want to help people, you shouldn't offer your services. You probably quadruple your rates. Therapist rates aren't very high on average. I don't know what your rates are, but you just want to make sure that whatever they are, they serve where you're trying to go in business and all the lives you're trying to impact. Like, I don't know what that looks like for you, but that's going to be really critical. Like, do you want to employ 500 other therapists? Do you want to? And similar to what I told the gentleman earlier, who's a life coach, Danny, he's still up here. Similar to what I told Danny, where in the market are you on that scale? Like, where are the therapists that are charging what they are, not what they're worth, because people are priceless, but charging rates that serve them? Where are they at? What does that look like? And if it's not done right now in the market at all, then you may need to rebrand or consider how you present your services. Maybe it's not underneath the therapy umbrella. If you want that FAME training or any other training, just text me and then just let me know in the text. Like I can see your name and everything when you all text me. So just text me and say like, hey, we spoke earlier. I'm the therapist. You said something about some training and I'll text it back to you. It won't be automated. So actually just text me like you're just texting my phone. That number is 312-847-4590. Yeah, and you all can text it while you're on Clubhouse. Clubhouse won't shoot you out. I don't know if anyone's new to Clubhouse, but also if you're in here, we'll probably be in here a little bit longer. You can click that plus button, ping in your friends that need this info. But we are going to get to the people on the stage, and then, eventually I'm going to have to go because of the baby. Yeah, there's a lot of steps beforehand to prepare yourself on the speaking side specifically. One, I recommend if speaking is something that you have a revenue goal affixed to, that you join a course or a class or get coaching. We have the Speak Your Way to Cash course. If you're looking at one-off engagements at the lower level, if you're looking at those 5 and multi-6-figure contracts, licensing deals, then you should join the academy. You need a sales process. It's not one thing. And you need it to be consistent, and it needs to be written down in a way that you can outsource it out to others. And you also need to know the individuals that you're going to be targeting. And it either needs to be you, because I heard you say signature speeches. You need a single, maybe 2. But I always recommend starting off with a single framework that can undergird all of your particular speeches so that you can brand yourself as the go-to person and you don't get commoditized as like a leadership speaker or something like that. But yeah, there is a process. If you are serious about moving forward and you want to talk through because it's way too much for me to say here. So I would say I don't know what your investment life looks like. Sam, just text me. You have to go through that whole process of me saying it's going to say oh, can she text you legally? I'm a lawyer. We got to do all the compliance stuff, but it's actually me texting back. So I'll text you. I'll voice note you some resources. And based on what you share with me privately, I'm not going to put you on blast and ask you all these questions here, but what you share with me privately, I'll make a recommendation about what to do. Because we also have scripts in some of our courses and programs, but I just need to know more about your goals, whether it's one time or whether it is actually you want the 5 and 6-figure engagements. And that's different. And for anyone in the room, I just want you to know there are several people in my program that their first time making a pitch was for $70,000, their first time. And it went well. And they landed a portion of that contract with the anticipation that the company will do the entire contract. So don't think you have to start at the bottom and then work your way to the top. No, you can start at the top and pull people up from the bottom. So keep that in mind. All right. So we got to power through who's on the stage now. I'm not going to have other people on the stage. Guys, look, we did this for 4 days. I'm not waking up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I may do an after a lunchtime speaker thing. I got to see because my friend Brian is in here. So if he's doing something during lunch, I'm not doing nothing during lunch because I want to go to his thing that he's going to do on Clubhouse. But I may do a sunset speaker, not series, but I may do a sunset speaker chat just so that also, Sam, this is a resource you can do right now. I have a podcast episode on my podcast with a few different people that I like. One of them is Kamanzi Constable. Check that out. It's really dope in terms of we talk through some different resources for pitching corporations specifically as well. Yeah, absolutely. So beginning steps, you should listen to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. It's a free resource for everyone listening to this. You can literally go to Apple and just binge it because obviously you guys are loving this conversation. So just binge the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. You're going to get your signature speech together. You're going to want to, I literally cover this a lot. So I'm going to say binge the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. Okay. Binge the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. And then after you do that, you want to tangibly have a website that explains what you speak about, have a signature speech, and then you want to have a sales process. All of those things are going to sound general because we don't have time right now to go through all the different ways that you can make speaking work. But I have a lot of different episodes about how to get started. And there's a freebie. If you join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group, there's a free speakers training. You can also just text me and I'll make sure that you get the resources that you need. Just text speaking to 312-847-4590. And then we'll make sure we get you set up with some resources. But as a comedian, just so you know, I don't know if you've done the NACA and the APCA, those associations that are always looking for comedians on college campuses, because comedians do very well. There was one at the National Association for Campus Programming that actually booked, I think 50 or 60. No. He booked 128 speaking engagements by showcasing at NACA. And so spoken word artists, speakers, and comedians have a similar process in the collegiate market. The reason I like speaking more is because you're able to, not more, right? But the benefit of speaking is you can really sell them a package deal that includes educational resources as well as entertainment. And so I think you'd actually have an edge by packaging both in all of your skill sets better. I just did a presentation for a company and I got feedback yesterday on it. And one of the things that they loved was they said my use of humor. one of the things we're doing with the Speak Your Way to Cash Academy is bringing in a comedian who's going to work with us on incorporating humor formally so we can learn how to write jokes and how they need to land and all of that fun stuff. So the fact that you're a comedian, you should totally lean into that because companies love humor, like love it. That was the first comment they gave. It was like, man, it was funny. You know, I played like an MTV clip. We had a ball. So I don't think you need to divorce your skill sets. I think you can package something that's super dope that includes all of your skill sets. Gratitude. That's super dope. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to say something. Do not take offense to anything I say, y'all. I'm actually sleepy, so I may not have as much bedside manner as everyone else. I love the church. I'm going to start with the disclaimer that I love Jesus, okay? Like, I'm a Christian. My husband's a pastor. My dad's a pastor. He's third generation pastor. Like, I totally get it. I don't target churches, though. I don't recommend anyone in my programs target churches. I recommend that you serve churches if that's what you want to do, but I don't recommend that you target them as a way to make revenue from speaking. Now, should you do some churches have money? Absolutely. But my philosophy because I don't want to go so far as say I'm a pure capitalist, but like as a CEO of a company that has an obligation to make money, I don't target audiences that historically have a reputation for not paying it out. And churches do pay for some of their larger conferences. But as a whole, when looking at the market, they are at the lower end. And when they do pay, they're looking for celebrities so that they can pay those celebrities. Like churches will pay TD Jakes $100,000, but will pay their ministers that work there and labor there all year $50,000 a year. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying? So with a topic like gratitude, that is something that we need in the pandemic in order to survive mentally. It's something that every company in America needs to understand on a tangible and specific and scientific level in order to ensure that their employees make it through this pandemic in their right mind. If you're not practicing gratitude right now, it don't matter if you are Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, etc. You need gratitude. So here's what I'm saying to you. And take it how you want to take it. I hope that you take this in love, obviously. Okay, good. I got to ask, because, you know, y'all, people say that I'm very, like, my friend Audrey is in here. I don't know if she's still in here, but she, like, gets on me. She's like, you know, you're very, very intense person. So, look, I think as believers, one thing that I've seen, not saying that I'm seeing this in you, is that we take messages that God means for the masses and we regulate it to very small corners of the earth. If God himself has put a message in you, it is not for the church only. It is for the world, period. And so I don't care whether I'm going to Africa to speak in, I'll be specific. I have someone who works for me in Zimbabwe. If I'm going to Zimbabwe to speak to their leaders, their world leaders there, I can give the same message that God gave me. Maybe I'll tailor it to an audience in a very specific way, but I can give the same core message, the currency of confidence. I can give it there. That's my signature talk. I could also give it to world leaders at the United Nations. You want to know who reached out to me recently? The International Monetary Fund. I'm going to give a speech to the International Monetary. You know what I mean? Like, I can give my message to any audience because God is a God that loves all people. So why would he give me a message that's only for a small corner of the earth when he's the God who rules over everything? It just doesn't make sense. And I think that what Christians do is we think that because we're comfortable in the church, we try to squeeze every inch of water out of these audiences that simply don't want to give it to us. I want to serve people that are happy to invest. When I had a client that joined the academy and she sent me a message that's like, this is the easiest decision I've ever made. I can't wait to do it. And I'm like, you're exactly who I'm going to serve. And every single person that I work with has that same mentality. And every single person that you all work with should have that exact same mentality. So for every believer in the room that thinks that they only have to serve the church because the message is a little bit soft, I literally just got paid by a pharmaceutical company to talk about love, tangibly. Love. What is God? Love. What did this corporation pay for? Me to talk about love. It was literally called Microaggressions, Overcoming Them with Love. You know what I mean? So, and guess what? They paid well. It was a great engagement and I got the chance. And so I don't think that you have to reduce the message of a big God to a small audience. That's the first thing. Secondly, I don't think the church, they have not exemplified that they are willing to spend abundantly on learning skills that they can read about in the Bible and hear from the pastor. Most churches have not exemplified that. And so when we're selling to corporate and when we're selling to colleges, I'm not selling you on the idea of hiring me and bringing me in. That's selling you on too much stuff. I may sell you on the idea of I want you to buy into the vision that I'm going to come into your company and teach. I want to sell you on the actual process by which I'm going to get your people to a result. So I'm selling you on the love method of communication, but I'm not selling you on why you need to bring in a speaker. I never have that conversation. If you don't understand that, we're not talking, because I'm not selling you on too many things and I don't want to waste my time. So I would say that your message is humongous. And if God has given you a proprietary framework or some way to exhibit gratitude that people can practice tangibly, then yes, you should take that to the masses. You should take that to the masses. You should not, don't cheat the big vision that God has given you that maybe you haven't even seen yet by only giving it to the church. Does that make sense? Teach these companies gratitude. It literally does something too. And when you start thinking about these things that are in the Bible, there is science behind them. We sometimes make them a little too deep. I'm not saying go into companies and preach, right? But like when I was talking about love, I talked about something that my therapists, which we need, life coaches and therapists, we need them. Leaders need therapists and life coaches. I was talking to them about something that my therapist shared with me about the actual physiological impact of anger, the physiological impact of offense, being offended all the time, being mad all the time, having beef with people. Like all of that impacts the way that you live and how long your life expectancy is. And so there's science behind a lot of the biblical principles. So that message can literally go to the masses without offending anyone in the audience. So I would definitely think that through, but feel free to shoot me a text if you want to hear more about that or talk more.
Hey guys, I want to come in really quickly and tell you all about the Speak Your Way to Cash course. This course is for speakers who are looking to consistently book paid speaking engagements. In short, if you are ready to speak your way to cash, this is the course you need. There are over 17 modules. You heard that right, 17, that cover getting clarity in your speaking career, branding through the press, a 7-figure sales panel, selecting your niche and finding engagements, selling your signature speech and building it out, onboarding and offboarding clients, implementation and taking it to the next level. And then let me tell you about the 10 bonus trainings that encompass the 17 trainings that you're going to get. The bonus trainings cover things like branding as a speaker, the best tools for finding engagements, determining whether a topic is viable, speech writing for success, speaking techniques, self-publishing for speakers, sales success, landing association and college clients, navigating the conference market, and so much more. You even get the exact pitch templates that I use to land college clients over and over again, and the press pitch templates that I use. So look, you can get this course by going to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC course. ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC course. Or just enter Ashley Kirkwood Speak Your Way to Cash course in Google and it should come right up. Thanks guys for listening. Let's get back to this interview.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So number one, the first thing I'll say is you're going to have to go to external resources. Like I'm not going to give you anything in the next 10 seconds that you're going to be able to eat off of for life. If the investment is you got up here on Clubhouse and the return is you want to be an amazing speaker from getting up here on Clubhouse with me for 2 minutes, then that's not going to work. I'm going to just be real with you. So what I would recommend is you figure out how much you really want to become a better speaker. And if that's something you want to invest time in and money in, then there's going to be external resources that I have for you. One of the things that I'll say, though, as to that lady, I don't know who this lady is, this Clubhouse bully you came in contact with the other day. But one, Toastmasters is Toastmasters really focuses solely on improving speaking ability. And there actually is a podcast episode on this. It's like about the visionary speaker, but I would listen to that. I mean, it's free. Why not listen to it? It's free. And he actually talks about what referable speaking looks like. And he gives tips for how to become a real visionary speaker. There's another guy on the show. There's so many good things on that podcast. I can't believe you said you don't want to listen. That's crazy, bro. So look, you have to figure out how to tell your story in a way that your audience will receive it. Keeping your audience top of mind when mapping out your stories is critical, especially for believers, because what I see with Christians who are used to preaching is that they talk in like Bible talk versus talking in like the language of the land to get preachy, if you know what I mean. If you look at preachers, some of the best preachers are able to communicate Christian messages in plain language. When you're a speaker, your goal is to make sure your audience can tangibly receive what you are giving them. That involves, if you're going to tell a personal story, that story needs to be mapped from start to finish. You need to know how they're going to feel at the beginning of the story, how they're going to feel when you're at the peak of the story, where they're anticipated to laugh, where you're going to end the story. And you want to make sure that you end the story and the speech in general on a positive note. The worst speeches that I have have seen are those where the person is talking about something very deep and very personal. Like there was a guy who talked about how he overcame drunk driving, how he actually killed someone in a drunk driving accident, but he was the driver. And the whole point of his story was to actually tell people why drinking and driving wasn't good. It was a collegiate presentation, but the story was so sad and so depressing and it never came up. You literally left feeling like you wanted to cry versus feeling like you wanted to avoid that situation. So he didn't leave people inspired. And to me, that says that you're not an empathetic speaker. You didn't think about how people are going to feel at each and every point of your story. If I ever tell a story that's sad or that has elements that'll make people feel an emotion of sadness, I'm never leaving them there. And what I find is we don't map out our stories in a way that people get the most value from it. We think that because we've told it so many times, it's clear. And oftentimes it's not. And many times we pack away pieces of our story that are traumatic. So we don't even know how to regurgitate it in a way that it'll actually be transformative for someone else. So my advice would be to think through all of your stories that you're going to use in your signature speech or in your next presentation and make sure that those stories have each part of that story actually has a purpose. One of the things that I will say that we're going to do when the program launches, there's actually a mindset module. That's the first module, and it's called the currency of confidence. And there are some exercises in there that I want everyone to actually do. I'm sure you all will, but some of those exercises will help you to really see yourself on a higher level. And so sometimes I think mindset stuff feels a little bit like, oh, well, I don't think I don't know. It can feel a little like, do I need to do this? And I would say that one, do those exercises. That'll help. But when you're invited to pivot, what you have to ask yourself tangibly is like, am I adverse to this because of fear, or am I adverse to this because it's not authentic? So sometimes coaches will give you things to do and it'll scare you. And so that's why you're adverse to it. Like, okay, I don't think I can speak on that because in the way that you can tell is like, all right, all these excuses like, well, I'm not really leading that many people and I don't really think I can talk to CEOs about this. And why would they listen to me? Like all of those thoughts are like fear thoughts. Authentic thoughts would be like, I don't feel ethically compelled to do that. I genuinely don't think I have anything to offer on that subject that isn't already out there. That may be an authentic situation. So while I may have a great idea, you're going to have to run it through your thought process and see like, okay, am I adverse to this because I'm scared, or am I adverse to this because it's not authentic to me? If it's not authentic to you, you can't sell it anyways, and you won't sell it. And I've literally seen people, we had someone come to me the other day that was literally thinking about shutting down their business just because they felt like it was too much work. It wasn't serving them. It was no longer authentic to their purpose. So we had to reconfigure the way they were doing business. And they realized, okay, I actually love my business. I just wasn't running it the way that I should be running it. Their speaking business. So that's the thing that I always look at with coaching is like, okay, am I adverse to this because I'm scared, or am I adverse to this because it's not authentic? Like there was a coach that was saying we should do these virtual webinars at like $49. And I'm like, well, my event is like $700. Like that feels inauthentic to me. Like people have paid all this money and invested all this money and then I'm gonna just give it away for $49. I wouldn't even be able to show up the way that I show up and serve the way that I serve at that level of pricing. So it was inauthentic. It wasn't a fear thing at all. It was like, this is not authentic to how I serve my people. But for you actually are a leader. So, I mean, and I think what a lot of people would be shocked by is there are people, I literally have clients that have $15 million in revenue that go through the exact same. It's not confidence. It's not tied to your accomplishments. It's really a lack of confidence is an irrational fear that someone's going to find out that you're a fraud. That's really what a lack of confidence is. And it's like, it's imposter syndrome, but it's totally irrational. And we've gotten applications from people that were like, hey, we want to join the academy. And then I look at their application and it's like, I'm like, what's your expertise? They're like, I don't have the expertise. Like, I don't do anything. I don't have, and it's probably not that they don't have one, it's that they can't articulate it. But through our process, we've been able to see there are some people that genuinely aren't ready to operate at the level that we teach. And so we don't let them in the program. We have declined people from the program. So you're in the program, Kelly's in the program, who's in here, a few other people are in the program. I take it very seriously not to work with people who aren't ready to challenge themselves at a higher level. It may still feel like being stretched, but as long as it's authentic to you, then you just have to overcome that fear. And that fear is overcome by actually doing it. Sometimes you put stuff out there, you package it the right way, you present it, and you realize, man, people are listening to me on this. it happens not just for you. It still happens to me. I'm like, man, this is good stuff. You'll write out something you're doing for someone else and you're like, man, this is good stuff. Someone said they took the course and got some results and I've never met them because that course is on autopilot. I'm like, man, this is amazing. It's really helping people. And you don't think about that. But your teams, like if you ask your team, I would just interview your team. Where were you before you started working here? Where are you now? What have you learned? What is the one I don't know how to say it, but what is like the skill that you've learned from me that has nothing to do with your job? What is the values that you've taken from this company that'll stay with you for the rest of your life? I would literally interview your team because they'll tell you how you've been able to lead them. They'll show you how you've been able to stretch them. You know, I talk about student leadership. I was a student leader, but I don't really, and I'll just be honest and transparent with you all. The way that I know that people are doing well from working with me, it's not necessarily, it's because they go on to bigger and better and greater things and bigger opportunities that they never would have gone for before. But that's not necessarily because like I'm spending all this time with them and doing all these things. It's because I require excellence and I instill confidence in them. So my thing is confidence, I think more so than leadership. But their results speak for themselves. Like they come back after working for me, even if it was like, it's not easy because I have very high standards and I'm not going to play with you. But they come back and they're like, man, Ashley, I just got this job. I would have never applied for this job. I read your book. You told me to salary negotiate. And no matter what, if someone on my team comes to me and wants to leave for a better opportunity, I'm supporting them in that because I teach them that any mentor or any leader that will keep you from your next level because it serves them is not the leader you should ever be serving. So those are the types of things that I instill. That said, I can't go in a company and tell people that. They're going to be like, what? You tell everybody to leave? Like that's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to leave. I want them to stay. But if they have to grow and they can't grow here, I'm not going to impede that. But what you've done is very different. You have developed them in such a way that I think is proprietary and can be transferred to these companies. So you should interview them. See, but that's the thing. That is outside validation. I think that, especially in the legal field, sometimes we think that outside validation, and in a variety of other fields, but legal is so pretentious that we think outside validation means like you worked at a large law firm or you went to the best law school or you've won an award from a big company or you've been in Forbes. Those things are nice, but that's just prestige. That's that. But you have outside validation because you have 400 plus clients that have gone through your law firm. You've helped how many business owners through the process? You have thousands of people in your Facebook group. You have employees that decline to leave. You've been able to build your firm without outside investors, I presume. You've been able to, you know what I mean? So like all of that is outside validation. If only 10% of the world makes over six figures, according to like 2019 tax statistics, and you're in that 2% of women who built a 7-figure business, then that's outside validation. That means you literally have done better financially than 98% of every other woman that started a business in this country. That's our outside validation. And that's why I think, sometimes we're so busy working and achieving that we don't stop to think what we do is abnormal. Being entrepreneurs, being successful, literally waking up, thinking of an idea, then putting it out there for people to buy, that is not normal. If outside validation, like whenever people say in the startup world, they say validation is people, you want to validate your idea by seeing if you can get consumers. If every dollar you've ever earned was validation about your idea and whether or not you've been able to provide a product that transforms people and you have millions of people validating or millions of dollars representing validation, then that means that it means that you're just getting started. Because if you've been able to do all this while still seeing yourself not as big as you really are yet, then that just means like that really that's going to be 10x. So that's just what it is. Honestly, that's factual too. That's not even because you're my friend. That's just factual stuff. Yeah, no, we'll definitely help with that. And you do speak on it all the time. And literally, I've called you probably 2 or 3 times before I did my first hire at my firm for that very reason. Because you're the best leader that I know in that sense. Like you're the best law firm leader that I know. The way that the things that you've explained that you've done for your people, it's very, 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 very good. Yeah. And I think a lot of people do that. And it's a way that they stay humble. I think they think it's like a way to help them stay humble. But one of the things is you want to make sure that you do keep a record of it because it's going to give insight into how you're able to help people and how you're able to bring people up in a way.
All right. Wasn't that interview amazing? If you're anything like me, you have pages full of notes. But here's the thing. Before you head out, I want you to go to facebook.com and join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. That is where I am. That's where a ton of other speakers are, a ton of other people who listen to the show. We all congregate there and chat. And it's 100% free. Now, if you're ready to take your speaking career to the next level, I have 2 ways for you to do that. One, you can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC live replay and pick up the live replay. That training is 7 modules, chock full of information. It's crazy. Go over there, read all about it. Or if you want a more personal experience, you already know that you want to be a speaker. You're ready to fully commit and you want someone to walk you through it and save you tons of time Googling and doing it on your own, then book a VIP day with me. You can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com, scroll down until you see the VIP day section and get more information on that there. All right. Thank you guys again for watching. Please do not forget to leave us a review. That is how we keep this train rolling and get some of the best speakers in the world to get on this show. So please, please, please leave a review. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and Facebook in the Speak Your Way to Cash group, Instagram at the Ashley Nicole Show. And I'd be more than happy to chat with you and say hi. All right, y'all have an awesome, awesome day.